Hi, welcome to Africa in Perspective. My name is Nelda and I make videos about Africa from Mondays to Fridays. Today we're tackling a comment that came through a couple videos ago where I was talking about absolutely amazing things that were going on in African civilizations. So I had a back and forth with an absolutely amazing commenter, by the way, who knew exactly what they were talking about. And they ended up saying some cultures are better than others. No, I took that very personally. And for a very brief moment, I remember thinking to myself, you know what? Maybe it's kind of true. Some cultures are better than particularly African cultures because we've been deemed to be primitive, barbaric, savages, all these names that we've been called. But then I took a deep breath and then I was like, there's an African proverb. Nobody knows which society came up with this proverb, but it says, until the lion learns to write, every single story will glorify the hunter. And I was like, what would happen if the lion decided to speak? Because that is precisely what is going to be happening today. You've heard it being told that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men were created equal. The issue is, during European colonization, what happened was, Europe was very much like Shanice. They were very like, yappa. They were telling Africans, oh,
you look like monkeys, you live in mud huts, you worship tree gods, you wear rags.
And over time, there has been this imbalance between the two continents, and that was partly why they were able to colonize us with ease. So what we're going to be doing in this video, we're just going to balance that narrative just a little bit. We're going to be speaking about positive things that were going on in Africa and negative things that were going on in Europe at the very same time period. We're going to start with this idea that a lot of people have said African societies are primitive. Now, when I hear the term primitive, I get very offended, guys, and I'll tell you why. Primitive means lack of sophistication, lack of advancement, lack of complexity. And are you actually trying to convince me that we did not have this going on for ourselves in Africa? Because we had so much going on in terms of fashion, food, architecture, education, trade, and economy, all these things. And in the very first video that I referenced, which I'll be linking here as well, I talked about architecture, I talked about trade, and I talked about education. In this video, we're going to be talking about fashion. Now, the reason we're doing that is precisely because we have absolutely amazing fashion across the African continent. The fact that I'm talking about over 2,000 different ethnic groups in one term is absolutely bizarre. We had excellent, sophisticated textiles. We had cultural symbolism in our wear. So like different colors stood for different things depending on what ethnic group you're looking at. Our fabrics were adaptable to the climates that we're living in. And we also had absolutely amazing artistic innovation. Like our fashion also evolved over time. One absolutely amazing example of this is the kente cloth from the Ashanti people in Ghana. Look, guys, just look at this. Just look at this. This is absolutely amazing. What part about this is giving unsophisticated? Exactly. Look at this picture right here. Are you guys trying to tell me that you better be joking? You better be joking. This is unsophisticated. A lot of people, I know these are modern-ish versions of what was going on at that time, but they are extensions of what was going on at that time. Look at the gold. Look at the drip. Come on. Absolutely amazing, beautiful work. Look at the little, not little, there's nothing little about these accessories that are going on in here. And then these are the Maasai people from present day Tanzania and Kenya. Just look, does the red and blue look very simple to you? Look at the complexity. You know how long it must have taken them to make these fabrics? The Maasai are absolutely, they're absolutely loved in East Africa because they've kept on wearing their traditional wear. They haven't, of course, once in a while they wear like jeans and suits, but oftentimes, even in town, you'd see them wearing this. And these are the Kuba from the DRC. Oh, come on, guys, come on. Look at the drip on this king. I know he looks like he just woke up and he wore everything in his closet, but I actually watched a video on Instagram where somebody addressed this, and they said a lot of fashion during that time had to do with abundance and luck in a given society. So with a lot of African societies, they look very maximalist because we were like, we have everything. Why shouldn't we wear it all? Exactly. Look at, now I'm going to butcher this, but I think it's the Hasa. Let me know how I did, guys. Let me know how I did. But look at the drip. Look at the purple beading on this king. Look at that. Look, come on, guys. This is an artwork, actually. It's a piece of art that was done by a artist. I'm getting really good at this, but absolutely amazing. And I think this is exactly what we need to be talking about because not a lot of people understand. We had so much going on for ourselves in terms of fashion as well, but then we're being told that we're wearing rags and we weren't doing anything important. The same thing was true as well for governance. If you look at the Oromo Gada system, they had a proper system for advancing in the community. So it was age-based. So at a certain age, you'd be considered like a warrior. You'd be the one fighting on behalf of your community, and then you'd advance to a better age, not a better age, but when you grew up, you'd be able to take part in other societal activities. You'd be helping as an educator, you'd be helping as an advisor, all these things. And they also had terms. It was 8-year terms, and then you get out. Somebody else comes into power. And a lot of people tout democracy or democracy. Demoskratos came from the Greeks, but we had our own systems as well. And that is a giving lack of sophistication. Exactly. In the same way, if you look at the Chaga people from Tanzania, they had a federation of chiefs, basically. What happened was there was a council of elders who were the main people, and then they had multiple chiefs who were responsible for districts within the chiefdom and within the kingdom, technically, but they had sub-chiefs everywhere. And women could own and inherit land. That was virtually unheard of in a lot of societies at that time, both in Africa and in Europe. The same thing can be said of the Herero. Now, they're not technically matrilineal, but they had a system called Eanda, which had matrilineal elements in the sense that inheritance was through women. So your maternal line also mattered, and that's how they would trace like where you're from. Very, very important. I don't know what you people mean when you say revolutionary, but this is giving very much revolutionary to me. And women also were able to work as religious, in religious ceremonies. Women were able to be mediators. Absolutely amazing. I think this is something that deserves to be spoken out a little bit more. And because at the same time, while all of this was going on in Africa, by the way, Europe, they were burning their people, guys. They were burning people. They were, it's history. Don't come find me. Don't come find me. Don't come find me. They were burning people. And they had witch hunts. Look at that. Look at that. It could never be me. It literally could never be me. There was this manual called Malleus Maleficarum, which said the women were like the devil's little agents. And so there are many reasons this was happening. Number one, there was a beef between the Catholics and the Protestants, and they were trying to fight over who had more divine answers per se. So they were trying to both prove that they were in connection to God and they could trace out Satan's activities in society. And the other reason, which is very important, there was something called the Little Ice Age, which there's nothing icy about that age, by the way. Basically, their crops were failing. They had a lot of economic distress at that time, and they were looking for somebody to blame. And they looked like, okay, women would be the best people to blame in this particular scenario up in here. And I think it's very important because women did suffer quite a lot. And so if anybody is to complain about the events of anything before the 20th century, it should be women, because we're the ones who suffered the most from all these ordeals. Now, speaking of ordeals, the other thing that Europe did is trials by ordeals. There were 4 different kinds. There was trial by fire. So, for example, if you're a thief and you were caught thieving or stealing, English is not my first language, they would give you like a hot iron rod and you need to hold it. And then if you didn't heal within 3 days, you were in trouble. You were guilty. Same thing with like walking on coals, the one that you're seeing in the picture. You need to walk on coals like for 3 paces and then get out. You need to heal within 3 days, otherwise guilty. The other thing they did was trial by water. Now, there were 2 kinds. Trial by hot water. They would boil hot water. You stick your hand in. Same case. If you heal, good for you. If you don't, guilty. They had also cold water, which I think was very funny, actually. They used to dunk somebody in cold water. If you float, you've been rejected by the holy water. If you sink, you've been accepted by the holy water, and therefore you're innocent. They had another one as well, trial by combat. Basically, 2 people would fight, and if you win, you're not strong. No. That's not the conclusion. You don't have better strategy. No. You're innocent. So the reason I'm talking about all these things, and I know I went a little bit quicker on the European part just because I'm running out of time, but I think it's important to acknowledge that every single society, guys, has advantages and disadvantages in their culture practices. There is benefits to certain culture practices, and then there is downsides as well. So this idea that some cultures are better than others, no, I reject it. Me and myself and we reject it. And I think it's actually important to consider this because there's a lot of Eurocentrism going in the world, which just basically means a lot of things are centered on Europe and what Europe did and what Europe got right. And this has translated in a lot of things, even things like Hollywood, for example. You're used to watching Hollywood films. They're the largest film industry in the world. So they have normalized certain things. You're not used to seeing other cultures being hyped up in a sense. So I think it's time for us to take a step back and be like, hey, okay, Europe did absolutely amazing for themselves, but they also had downsides. Africa has been shown to have absolutely great things, but they also had downsides. And we're both equal. Okay, we're both equal. Like I said in the beginning, we hold this truth to be self-evident. All men were created equal, every single one of us. So let's get rid of this idea that, oh, some cultures are better than others. No. Every culture has good parts and bad parts. I hope this video was useful. If you think it was useful, just please subscribe. Please, I'm on the way to 1,000 subscribers. And also comment. I really, really love comments. A lot of the videos that I do are inspired by your comments. So feel free to comment. Let me know what you think, and you will see me in the next video.